A few days ago, Vercel jumped on the AI hype train and released their brand new AI SDK, an open source tool that makes it really easy to build apps with large language models like GPT-4 and others. And it handles text streaming on the server, allowing you to recreate the typing effect that you see in apps like ChatGPT. In today's video, we'll build an AI chatbot from scratch in SvelteKit to get an idea of what this tool is all about, because it is incredibly useful if you plan on integrating LLMs into your app. This video is not sponsored, but I do want to take a second to show this demo that Vercel made that allows you to compare multiple LLMs side by side. Just by itself, it's a very useful tool for comparing responses between different models. Under the hood, it's using Next.js, along with the AI SDK that we're about to look at. To get started, let's go ahead and create a new SvelteKit project. And by the way, if you're new to SvelteKit, I've been working on a full course for the last couple months that will be out by the end of June. I'll leave a discount below if you want to get access with Fireship Pro. Now, inside the project, let's first install the AI SDK, then we'll need to decide which AI platform we want to integrate, like Anthropic, Cohere, Hugging Face, or OpenAI. I'm going to go with OpenAI here and install the OpenAI Edge library. This is an alternative to the main OpenAI package, which is based on Axios, whereas the Edge package is based on the browser native fetch API. That's mostly important if you plan on deploying this to Edge functions like those on Vercel, but that's completely optional, and it's important to point out that you don't need to use Vercel to take advantage of this library. The next step is to go to the OpenAI dashboard and get an API key. Let's go ahead and copy this API key into a .env file in the root of the SvelteKit project. Now, in order to interact with this API, we need a server endpoint. In SvelteKit, we can easily create an API endpoint by right-clicking on the routes directory, then use the extension to create a new server.ts file. That'll give us an HTTP endpoint in the chat directory that's initially configured to handle GET requests. In our case, though, we want to change that to a POST request, which is accomplished by renaming the function. The code in this function will only run on the server, which means we can safely import OpenAI and the environment variable with the API key. A cool thing about SvelteKit is that instead of using process.env, we import environment variables from the $env namespace, which provides IntelliSense to prevent you from using a variable that doesn't exist. Now we can pass that API key to the configuration object to initialize the OpenAI SDK. Now, when sending a POST request, we'll include a body of messages to give the AI model the context of the chat. From there, we can use the createChatCompletion method to specify an OpenAI model like GPT 3.5 Turbo, and then we'll make sure to set the stream option to true. When streaming, the API will send back small chunks of the response instead of waiting for the entire response to process. And this is the point where Vercel's AI SDK becomes useful. It has a helper function to first convert the response to a stream, and then a class called streamingTextResponse to then stream it from your own server endpoint, which might also be running on the edge. That's pretty cool, and it also makes it possible to run callbacks as the stream is being processed. Like, for example, on start, you might want to save the prompt to the database, or on completion, you might want to save the response from the AI to a database. And that's all it takes to build a streaming API on the back end. Now that that's done, let's head over to the page.svelte file to code up the front end. On the front end, we'll go ahead and import the useChat helper from AI/svelte. UseChat is a function that can configure settings and returns a bunch of helper functions and stores to help you manage the state of the chat. By default, it's looking for a POST endpoint with a URL of API/chat on the same origin. However, my endpoint is on the chat URL, so I'll go ahead and update that in the settings. One thing it returns is a messages store that we can subscribe to by putting a $sign in front of it. Its value is an array, so we'll loop over it with each, which will display and update every message in the chat in real time. Next, we'll create an HTML form so the user can submit a new message to the chat. The library provides a function to automatically handle the submit event and also an input store to bind the proper form input to the chat prompt. Congratulations, you just built a streaming artificial intelligence app that runs on the edge. Now run npm run dev to run it locally. When you submit the form, it will automatically make a POST request to your API endpoint to communicate securely with the AI on the back end, then stream the response and update the UI token by token on the front end. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.